What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jeremy. If you're new here, this is Fishing Lone Star. Also, if you're new, this is a series, a continued series that I started maybe about a month ago called Raw and Uncut, where literally I push record and I speak on a particular topic, just kind of my raw thoughts, uncut, no editing. We're gonna go straight through on this video. The previous videos I have dropped in a playlist, so you can view those here on the channel if you want to go back and view those. I'm going to save all of them there as well for future references, so no matter when you're watching this video, you can go see all of those. I believe this is episode 3, and today we are talking about a topic I haven't really ever discussed publicly, my thoughts, my opinions, and even a kind of interesting story about Googan baits. Now, there's usually two extremes. People love them and use them. People hate them and despise them. Sometimes there's people in the middle. Well, hopefully after this video, you'll kind of know where I stand or land on Googan baits or the Googan squad. Now, I'm going to try not to intertwine the two, but let's just be real. Whether you're talking about the people or the baits, the Googan squad or the actual Googan baits, they intermingle, right? So we're gonna mix them a little bit. Now, and I am gonna actually tell you what I do think about both of them. So I am gonna get to that. Before I do though, let me tell you a personal story, all right? So this was probably about a year and a half ago, maybe somewhere in there. I'm going on a bike ride. So all of our bikes are right here on the garage. A couple of them are over there. Between my wife and I and 2 kids. I actually have 3 kids, but this particular day, the 4 of us, 4 out of 5, we're going on a bike ride, right? So we leave out my driveway right here, turn right, and start to pedal down the street. And 2 houses down on the opposite side of me, same street, but just 2 houses over, I also look up and notice that there is a really sweet black Corvette sitting in the driveway, and 3 guys outstanding looking at it, and another Corvette parked in the street. All right, so black, brand new Corvette sitting in the driveway, another Corvette sitting in the street. I kind of like pull over and stop as my wife and 2 kids keep riding their bikes. I stop and pull over, and I'm just looking at these 2 Corvettes. The 3 guys are looking at me, and I just kind of laugh and say, hey, like, you guys mind if I just admire these for a moment? And they kind of laugh. And about that moment, I realized that the Corvette parked in the street belonged to my neighbor down the street. The Corvette parked in the driveway. As I look up at the 3 guys, I'm like, wait a second, you're Rob Terkla, like you're Monkers TV. And he kind of started laughing, and I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I'm your new neighbor. So yes, Rob Terkla of the Googan squad was my neighbor for about a year. I say was because it's past tense. He was staying in a home across the street that at the time was rented, or he was renting. Now he has bought and lives in a different house. I'm not going to go into his personal circumstances, all those details. I'll just talk about kind of our interactions while he was here for about a year. It was during the time period that he was going back and forth to Florida when he was professionally fishing, and probably was right at the beginning of him entering that tournament trail and tournament series. What was cool is, well, we would talk every now and then. I wouldn't say we were friends. I don't think Rob would say we were friends either. I would say we were acquaintances that, we're both somewhat involved in the fishing industry. Him, obviously, a whole lot more than myself. But I had just bought this boat behind me, my Ranger. At the same time, he brought home his Phoenix. Literally, I think it was even the same day I come roll up with my Ranger. He pulls around the corner in his Phoenix. And he jokingly made the comment, after I asked him to come over and check out my first ever boat, he jokingly made the comment that the graphs on his boat cost more than mine. It might have been a little bit of a dig. I don't think he meant it that way, but it was kind of funny because he had a very sweet boat in that Phoenix. But over the course of the year, we talked, we visited. He gave me a ton of Googan baits, a ton of different product. A lot of it, I'll be honest with you, I gave away to other kids or buddies of mine or people that I know. Some of it I do use and have used. A lot of the jigs. He gave me a ton of jigs, and some of them I still use to this day. So some of the product I use, some of it I gave away. I will say he did give me a fanny pack one time. I did not ever use the fanny pack. Rob, I don't know if you ever watched this, but that just wasn't my style. All right, I just couldn't rock a fanny pack. But you know, it was interesting getting to know Rob. He had just written his first book. I think it was his first book. Anyways, it was his latest book. So we talked a little bit about that and got to know him. What I kind of learned, I think I gather from Rob, is he seemed like a guy that always kind of has his guard up. And I think you'd almost have to, right? Because, you know, here he is, moves into a house across the street, and literally the day he moves in, a neighbor, you know, me being across the street, recognizes who he is. I mentioned to him that I ran, you know, the page and channel Fishing Lone Star. He followed me shortly after. I think he still does. And there was times where, you know, he was out of town on a tournament and had had packages delivered. I'd go grab them for him, just kind of doing a neighborly thing. No big deal. But you know, it was cool to visit with him during those times. You know, we would talk fishing every now and then. I try not to bother him because I know that's, you know, kind of his personal time, right? When he's home at his house. I never wanted to be that person who went over and bothered him. I never asked him to go fishing. Didn't ask him to come fish with me. It just didn't seem like it was, I don't know, like kind of the right thing to do. I mean, I think if he wanted to fish, he would have asked me to go fishing with him. It's kind of my perspective. No hard feelings. I just kind of treated him as a neighbor, and I think he kind of did the same. But yeah, we were acquaintances, and it was interesting to get to know him during that time period. But I feel like he was a guy that kind of always has to have his guard up around people, because I'm sure in the situations in life that he's in, you know, being part owner or the owner of Googan Baits, and all the different businesses he's involved in, I'm sure there's a lot of people that try to become buddy with him because they want something. And I never wanted anything from him. I didn't ask him for anything. You know, every now and then I just wanted to kind of talk, see, you know, what he was up to and what was going on. But other than that, you know, I didn't try to bother him much. So that was kind of an interesting time period, kind of getting to know him. Now, about kind of Googan Squad and Googan products. Well, first of all, what I learned in that interaction, like I had my own preconceived notions of Rob, just like I'm sure everyone has preconceived notions of any, you know, famous YouTuber, whether that be a celebrity, sports person, etc. I mean, in the fishing world, I think Rob probably has the largest fishing channel and platform of anybody. I may be wrong. If I'm mistaken, try to comment, let me know. But what I learned and kind of about that situation is any of my preconceived notions of who I thought Rob was, some were confirmed and some were actually wrong, right? I mean, you begin to actually know somebody and therefore you think differently about them than what you might have. So I would probably say for anyone who is thinking about the Googan Squad, whether it be the OGs or the new members, try not to necessarily judge them as how they appear on social media, because they may actually be somebody different in real life, or they may actually be exactly how they portray themselves in social media versus real life. I will say a lot of times we were very quick to judge someone before we actually even really know them. So I've tried not to do that, although let's just be real. We're all humans and jump to those preconceived notions sometimes, even though we shouldn't. So I'll say that about the actual Googan Squad members. In terms of the Googan Baits, like look, like let me just be honest with you guys. My PB, I'll put it up, you know, right up here on this video. My PB, I caught at Lake Fork the very first time I went to Lake Fork in June of 2019. It was actually my very first time on a bass boat. I'd rented a boat for the day, never even had driven a boat, bass boat. Went out, rented a boat for the day, went out Lake Fork for the first time, and about 4 o'clock that afternoon, caught an 8.01 pound largemouth bass on the Bandito bug, Texas rigged on a 1/4 ounce weight and an EWG hook. 20 pound fluorocarbon. Lews custom black reel. And I think at that time I was using a Lews rod too. But anyways, I remember all the details about it. The Googan Bandito bug was the lure, as I mentioned. And so look, like that's the lure to this day that landed me my PB. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the plastics don't work, or actually I've never really used their hard baits. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that their baits aren't good. I think some don't like the softness. Some do like the softness because of the action. I personally use Egg Zone lures. Obviously, I think you can see that logo right there on my boat. I love working with Jim, the owner of Egg Zone. I think he's a great guy, great person. It's a family-run business, and they've always been great to me, and so therefore I use Egg Zone plastics. And I also use Castaic, their swim baits, and a lot of their hard baits. I do work with Strike King, so I use a lot of their plastics and hard baits, stuff that Egg Zone or Castaic doesn't make. So those are kind of my go-tos. So I think Rob, when he lived across the street, he knew that and he respected that. Like, we never really talked about fishing. We didn't talk about what products we use. Like, he brought me some stuff time to time. But I think he also, like, let's just be real. Rob doesn't need someone like me to market his products for them. I think they sell just fine on their own. But the products are good. My personal stance on Googan baits and the Googan squad. What I don't like about some of them is some of the things that they do, knowing that their main audience or a big portion of their audience, I don't know their demographics in terms of their consumers and their target audience, etc. So I'm not gonna speculate. I will say what I believe I know is the majority of their consumers, or a large portion of their consumers, that may not be a majority, but a large portion, are teens or even a younger generation. Let's just say high school or younger. Now, look, I'm a parent of a high schooler. I'm a parent of also elementary age kids. And it's up to me as a parent to make sure that what they're watching on YouTube and social media is the right things and the right content for them. Okay, so I'm not going to blame the Googan squad for someone watching their content that shouldn't be. But that being said, I do believe you have a little bit of a responsibility as a content creator, or anyone for that matter, to know who a lot of your target audience is. And I just don't think sometimes some of the things that they're doing, talking about, or promoting outside of their products are the right things to be promoting given who their audience is. Now, a lot of that's also my personal beliefs with my walk with Christ and my my salvation, being a Christian, and what I believe in my faith. So I'm trying to have some of those things not hinder my decisions about the decisions that the Googan squad sometimes makes, but I just think they could be making better decisions given that the majority of their audience, or a large portion of the audience, is probably younger kids. So that's kind of my biggest thoughts there. I think in general, look, I'm almost 42 years old. There's just a lot of things that I do and choose to do and how I want to represent myself that doesn't align with kind of the Googan brand, and that's okay. Like, that's totally fine. What they want to represent themselves as and kind of what I do, I don't really feel like they mix. They don't have to, right? They don't have to. There's plenty of people to buy plenty of products. And I think that's one thing sometimes people, and even companies sometimes think about is, oh, well, we have to have exclusivity of them using our product. There's very few people, almost none, that exclusively use one product when they're out fishing, unless they're paid to. And even then, most professional anglers still use others because they just flat out work. So, to think that, just because I represent Egg Zone or Castaic or Strike King, that, I still can't use some of their products or anything else is kind of crazy. I think there's plenty of people that use Googan and Strike King. I think there's plenty of people that use Sixth Sense and Strike King as well, right? Or Zoom or Booyah, any of them. I mean, people use all these baits and lures. So I don't think anyone picks one particular lure. I'm kind of rambling right now, so let me get back on topic. I think for me though, I don't really have exclusive agreements outside of maybe one or two companies, but I choose to be as exclusive as I can the baits and the people that I partner with. And so that's another reason why I don't use Googan baits, is because I have other partners that I use instead. But they make good products. I'm not necessarily going to judge the guys because I've never really met them other than Rob. I think they've got a business plan, a business strategy that's absolutely working for them. They have clearly learned how to leverage YouTube, and they kind of created the social media marketing platform and have shown that social media is real, it's here to stay, and it absolutely moves product. That actually, I think if we're being honest, that gives guys like me who are kind of your weekend angler, but who also share content like this or on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever the social media platform is, that gives us an avenue. Because let's just be real for a minute. Like, what Googan Squad did was open up the social media marketing aspect for a lot of other guys to go market baits and lures for other companies, when at the time a lot of these companies were were only relying on these professional anglers to move their product. So for that, I am grateful for what the Googan Squad has done. I used to be a big Googan fan. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I've been to their store. It's 20 minutes from my house. Was not at their grand opening. The day they had their grand opening at that location is the day that I caught my PB on Lake Fork with the Bandito bug. I used to be a big fan. LFG, some of those guys, I was a big fan of them. And, over time, just kind of, I guess you could say I kind of stopped following, if you will. Some of the semantics and things they do just didn't align with my particular lifestyle and maybe my age demographic. So I choose to work with other companies, represent other companies, but I don't think they, are missing the fact that I'm not helping them promote either. So all that being said, I have used Googan products. I do not necessarily use them anymore, although maybe I have a couple of their finesse jigs. I think they make decent products. Some really like them, some really don't. I would tell you, don't necessarily judge all the people until you really know them. I try not to as well, and even if you do know them, we probably still shouldn't judge. That's at least what I believe, even though I'm guilty of it. So that's it. That's kind of this particular Raw and Uncut, the story of Rob Terkla being my neighbor, what my thoughts are about the Googan Squad, Googan baits, and I don't know. Let me know. I feel like that was maybe a little vanilla, but that's kind of what I think about their products and why I use them or why I don't. But the next Raw and Uncut video, I'm going to take all the topics you guys have previously suggested. We're going to put them in a hat. I've got a hat right down here, and we're going to draw them out, and we're going to just cover topics on the fly. I'm not going to have any preconceived thoughts about them. We're just going to pull it out of a hat, and we're going to roll the camera. So stay tuned for more Raw and Uncut videos. I've also got a ton of unboxings we're about to do because I'm stocking up from Black Friday deals, maybe my own Christmas shopping. So I'm going to show you what all I bought to kind of prep for next year's fishing season. And we're about to go in the water a couple of times next week, one to a private water lake and one to a power plant lake. So stay tuned for those videos. Should be some fun and hopefully some big fish caught. So stay tuned for that. And if nobody told you today, God loves you, and so do I. Peace out.